All right.
So
we have the foundation points for our
power system.
Yeah, power system. So Nen,
Right.
otherwise known as the combination of Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu,
Yeah.
is basically the manipulation of your soul via willpower.
Right.
So there is willpower involved, but
Yeah.
it is the utilization of your soul's life energy
Yes.
to augment yourself and
potentially
items in the
other
environment.
things. Yeah.
Yes.
Because
So
he was able to do that thing with the book page.
right. So we've been seeing Nen being used all the time. Anytime Hisoka used a card,
Yes.
he was probably imbuing Nen energy into those cards.
Right.
And making them essentially lethal weapons.
We also got to see it when Killua and Gon were going up against Netero.
Yes.
And Netero hardened himself, you know?
Yep. That's a good point.
So, yeah. Okay.
So this has been very much kind of a thing that you would have noticed if you had watched this show already on a rewatch.
Sure.
And you would have
yes.
been like, there's Nen, and there's Nen, and there's
Right.
Nen. So all the basically good fighters know how to use Nen. Basically, anyone that's any good.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, Kill was good, but even he doesn't know how to use it yet. So.
No, but he's young.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And Kill's not good. He's got, like, the raw potential energy.
Sure.
Energy, kind of the...
Now, so here's one thing I'm curious about, though.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't cover the things that we've seen Killua do, like his illusion walking and his... hardening is changing his hands to be able to rip out hearts and stuff. So are there aspects of, like, is Nen all there is to the power system?
Good point.
Can there be things that can be taught without teaching the other tenets, the Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu? Because we have seen Killua use those, even though he didn't know what Nen was.
Right. I would say that the illusions probably could be. I would see that this part with his little hands changing doesn't have to be, but it also could. There's a possibility that basically anything that augments yourself is potentially an extension of Nen. It's just a question of, does it change form?
All right.
I would say that's not necessarily the case.
Right, because they described Nen as being like the force of your soul, kind of. And then these are just different ways to like apply it. Like
they're like subclasses within a classification of an ability set, and then each one is a subclass of it. So 10, for instance, is the shroud. It's the defensive thing. It's the force field. It's that which basically puts your soul energy out as a defensive mechanism to keep you from harm. And then there's the recovery version, which is what was that? Zetsu?
No, Zetsu.
Yeah, it was Zetsu. That's the one where you hide and the one where you recover faster.
Okay, yeah. And that's something that Gon's already been doing. And
apparently, Gon has been doing that, yeah.
Right, and he might have been doing 10 also, just because of all the different things that we've seen him survive.
Yeah,
right?
maybe there's a aspect where the kids, because of how, like they said, how they've been raised, they have a natural inclination to use the most basic forms of Nen.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And if that's the case, then they could use those bits probably a lot more effectively moving forward because it comes more naturally.
Yeah, if that is an indication of the way they're going to progress in the long term based on what they've already been using, that would be really cool because Gon, so far, has seemed to be this kind of, like, stealthy, like, something.
Yeah, I think Gon's abilities extending to his senses would be really fantastic in that he can read other people's abilities. Like he's able to determine what type of like energy they're using. Like are they shifting into a defensive stance or something?
Yeah,
like,
okay. All right.
And then Killua's senses are also very attuned, but his seems to be more along the lines of more of that augmentation type thing where he basically is
turning himself into
a weapon. Exactly. So he has the hands part, he has the illusions bit, he has the thing where he hides his own presence pretty well. He mentioned that to Canary. He's like, are you using the technique for hiding yourself?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So maybe Killua is pretty well versed in things of Nen, but he doesn't know that it's actually Nen.
Maybe his family was like teaching him the basics without complicating things with like all the philosophy behind it and stuff.
Sure. And also maybe they're keeping him from actually using his soul energy for the reasons that he might end up being too strong for them to control.
Yeah, absolutely. I could totally see that happening, especially since the way they responded to him gouging out his mother's eyes and, doing all that stuff. It's like, it seemed like they were handling it pretty well. And that would explain it if they were basically saying like, well, we haven't taught him Nen yet. So
and we have that over him for now.
Right, exactly. Whereas someone like, say, Illumi, it's like, okay, we've broken in Illumi. Or at least we think we have. Right. So, And
maybe Illumi's already kind of in his own... He's got his own ties already. He's not necessarily stuck with the family. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have the strength to where they feel like they need to control him. Because maybe if Illumi was a problem, it'd be just no big deal to have Silva go over and just kill him.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
The idea, though, that Gon is getting this strong this quickly, though, is kind of a little bit worrisome because one of the problems with shonens in particular is the whole idea of scaling and what happens when Gon and Killua, by them both being kind of dual main characters right now, get so strong that when they come back to meet Leorio and Kurapika, they're basically useless.
Exactly.
They basically just described it as someone not having Nen fighting someone who is a Nen master, basically being the equivalent of standing naked in a cold blizzard, and wondering why it's cold.
Right.
So you're going to die,
Yeah. Now they have so far, but they have shown that just because you have Nen does not mean you're unstoppable. Because because Hisoka was still able to be outsmarted by Gon. But
in a straight up one-on-one fight, no, he's unstoppable.
Yes, sure, but
without using Nen.
Right, but they also established like one of the big reasons why Gon has progressed so much was because of what happened with the training for the test door.
Yes, that is a huge portion
and that's something that Kurapika and Leorio
also still kind of snuck up on us very suddenly.
Yes.
We're like, yes, we get it. He can push things really hard.
Right.
But the amount of time that took in the story was a very short
amount of time. Granted, at that point, he was already, like, he carried 4
I know. He's very strong. But I'm talking about there's a difference between him holding up 800 pounds.
Right, and be able to just, like, Bruce Lee, like, 1-inch punch somebody half a mile away.
Yeah.
There's that big difference. But that could be cool because then we could also see how... because what's the saying, like, in order to see if you really know something, see if you can teach it. So if Gon and Killua then have to teach Leorio and Kurapika how to use Nen, that would be a way to see how far they've come, It
would be interesting to hear from Kurapika. He's like, oh yeah, I've known about Nen all this time. What? Why didn't you use it? I never felt the need to. What the heck?
That's not something you want to broadcast, that you can do.
Sure, maybe Kurapika thought about... the fact that someone like Hisoka was in the exam meant that using Nen put himself into a position where Hisoka would see him as a challenge.
Right.
And he's like, I'm just a regular guy.
Exactly.
I don't have anything special about me.
I really like that idea, too, because if you have this idea of Nen being as built up of a thing as it is, and as...
Yes.
Even though everyone can do it, like, as rare and OP...
Everyone has the ability to learn how to do it, but not everyone has the ability to do it.
Yes, right. But with something like that, it would actually make sense. It would make a lot of sense for people to very much not broadcast the fact that they can use it.
Right, whereas Hisoka is the complete opposite of that. He is constantly broadcasting his murderous or killing intent, which is interesting because I'm thinking back to the fact that we've watched My Hero Academia, and when Stain has his whole aura radiating out from him.
Yep.
Was that a HunterxHunter reference in the fact that
I think that was a bit of
maybe
a nod.
HunterxHunter is referencing back to something even earlier about the whole idea of killing intent. But I've seen that in a lot of anime, and I always wondered where that trope came from. And this is so far the oldest thing I've watched where killing intent has a visual aspect to it.
Right.
So this could be one of the originators of that trope.
Yeah.
At least one of the more popular ones for shows that have come out in the last 2 decades.
Established it and popularized it, yeah.
Yeah. The aspect of it being a visual thing that has a physical response.
Right.
It's not just something that you feel that's this pressure. It's like, no, this could kill you. In fact, it is currently restraining you from moving forward. That's very interesting.
I hope they keep this up moving forward. I remember when I watched Bleach and it got to the first time where you met Zaraki, right?
Yes.
And that was scary. Like when suddenly they just they can't breathe, and all that.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, you never see that again.
Yeah, it's true.
And I've always just thought that was so unfortunate. Because I get that, if you did something like this Ren, then it would get old eventually. Right. But it's I feel like it's kind of like Dust and Ruby. I don't want them to forget about it. I want it to be a thing that is brought up as maybe even though it's not effective on most of the people.
No, I think it's going to be insanely brought up, Jacob. I feel like this is the thing that's going to be a huge foundation point for the rest of the show. It's just a question of, will it be utilized the same way going forward?
Yeah.
And I would say that yes and no. You're right in that it won't, this part might get old. This part might end up being not really a thing as much in 50 episodes or so.
Sure.
But I could see them definitely continuing to explore the kind of things people could come up with. Because you remember how in the Hunter exam everyone had their gimmick? Their little thing that they were good at.
Right, poisonous gas.
Yeah,
or
in
sniper
this,
rifle.
what they can do is see, what's your Nen gimmick? It's like, my Nen gimmick is I make cards, and I throw them at people, and they
die.
They die. It's like, what if, that's a thing for everyone in this universe, where people have some kind of Nen gimmick that's just their thing. And and they're in the Heavens Arena, they're going to basically show a little microcosm of that by having these people at the 200th floor be the ones where they actually spend time on the fights.
Right.
And show you how Nen can be used creatively.
Yeah.
I think that would make it a good power system. But if you don't use it creatively and it just ends up being a thing of who punches through each other's force field harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
That would be a bit disappointing.
It would be a bit disappointing. I would be, to quote Aragon, I expected more. Well, more.
Yeah. When you have to... yeah. Anyways.
You have to quote that cringy of a film. It's like, oh, man. But the training bit, it was a lie. And I didn't think it was. And you did think
it wasn't completely a lie. It was almost like when you're in school or something, and they say okay, what you learned in the previous grade or whatever, that was actually wrong. This is what it really is. And then it's like that 4 years in a row, and they keep doing that because they're basically saying we'll give you the simplified version, and then we'll tell you how it really is.
I hate stuff like that.
The next layer. I do too.
I really, really despise it when things are handled that way. I think it's cool in this story that he's choosing to, but I can wholly identify with Killua in the
being a bit peeved.
A bit peeved that he was lying to him. One of the problems I deal with is seeing when people are lying. It's pretty obvious, but when they're doing it for some belief that they have about you, that's a problem. So the fact that this teacher is basically protecting them by lying, it's like...
well, I didn't see it as he's protecting them by lying. He's basically saying, I'm going to teach them some tenets so that if they're actually interested in learning and honing themselves and developing themselves, since it is tied to willpower and stuff, then they can actually learn it. But since this is...
It feels like he's passing the problem on to someone else, though.
Possibly. But if you think about
it... It isn't his responsibility, though.
It isn't his responsibility. True. But if you were able to teach someone about some crazy power or whatever...
if I could teach someone force powers,
yeah, if you could teach someone
force powers... I would teach them
powers,
about the philosophy of the light side before they actually learn how to use the force.
And if there were a couple of random people that just sort of showed up that already have a knack for violence... Would you be particularly interested in just saying all right, here's how you do all these crazy different things that can kill people?
Very good point. I feel like with this, though, this guy could have just thought ahead and seen that this was the place that they were going and realized, okay, I'm just going to teach them the aspect of keeping themselves protected.
Right. And heck, that probably would have worked better for them, because then if they hadn't actually gone to the 200th floor, then would they basically still be on the same sort of time limit?
What?
Like
time limit?
Well, to, needing to sign in for their fight before midnight, or, they get reset.
What? The only reason they'd have a time limit is if they got to the 200th floor.
Exactly. Right. So what I'm saying is, if he had started talking to them about it before, and they had just basically taken a pause from their fights, they might have been able to avoid the whole issue of, you have 3 hours to learn this stuff, because by the time they actually progressed to the 200th floor, they already knew enough.
Yes, of course. Yes, that's what I was saying. I said that earlier. That he could have predicted that this is what would happen.
Gotcha.
But he didn't. So
right.
Whatever.
That was a cool reveal, though, to see Hisoka there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I would say we totally called it. It wasn't at all a surprise, in my opinion.
Right.
We've been waiting for Gon and Hisoka to fight each other for a while. And this is literally the perfect way for them to do it.
It is.
There's almost no better way for them to do it. Because this is going to be a thing where Hisoka will probably win again. I think there's a very high likelihood that he's going to win again.
Oh, yeah.
But he will use it potentially to keep teaching Gon, and I would love to know why he cares so much about teaching Gon. And more instances with Gon and Hisoka in the same room just sound fantastic in terms of story. Killua, though, I don't know what his thoughts are about Hisoka. Hisoka's kind of attitude and just desire to fight and kill might actually intrigue.
Sure. Well,
did I mix up names again? I think I was talking about Hisoka.
Yeah, and you said Hisoka.
Okay, and I'm talking about Killua might actually be interested in just that whole thing. Maybe he might see it as disgusting because Hisoka revels in it and kind of broadcasts it, whereas
he'd
Killua values the assassin's
so
way.
Uncivilized.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't have the finesse or the grace of an assassin.
Sure. Even though Killua has now admitted that Hisoka is better than him. And fact that Hisoka has an enemy means he's definitely better than Killua right now.
For sure.
But one thing they could do is that now I don't know how much Killua knows about how Hisoka and Illumi are connected.
Sure.
But that could be another point of contact of like a reason why Killua gets something out of being there with Gon,
Possibly.
My neck. Because like like you said, Hisoka doesn't really have a goal yet, or we don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't. I get the feeling he's one of those characters that doesn't have an expressed singular goal. He is kind of like the Joker in that he just wants to have fun. And the thing is that different things entertain him at different times.
Right.
And I'm guessing he's also that type of character that has a sympathetic side, and that's why he's so popular.
Oh.
And that he'll eventually have like some friendship or something that's like,
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. I was actually thinking that the reason people like him so much is just that he's so bad, but you can't help but like enjoy the times that he's on screen.
But the thing is that even to some people, I wouldn't say necessarily to me, but some people see the Joker as sympathetic.
Well,
and I think if people can see the Joker as sympathetic, Hisoka's probably going to have a sympathetic side too.
Sure, but I would say, do you think the Joker is like could be classified as a sympathetic character? Some people might sympathize with it.
Yes, Jacob. I know that based upon the Joker's origin story, that isn't necessarily, the way that everyone agrees upon. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know too much about the Batman comics.
So, my thing is that Hisoka being brought back into the story brings there an opportunity for us to get depth into his character.
Sure.
And I think that there's enough space in the story right now for another main-ish character to be involved in this arc.
Okay.
If not, then it's fine. We can just keep doing fights and stuff and explaining Nen and all that. But I would hope that this arc is more than just a disguise for Nen exposition.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I
feel
totally
get it. I feel like by them introducing this really quickly and they're just moving along with it, the next fights are going to be basically Nen exposition. Because it's going to be a way for them to learn things. It's going to be a way for them to show cool fights, creative fights, but also have all the main characters, such as basically Gon and Killua, learning about Nen by watching other people use it.
Right, but that could still be really interesting because that would involve a lot of showing. Like now I'm talking
like hardcore narrative.
Like they're breaking down the fight. Like, whoa, he must have used it to do such and such.
No, it's the kind of thing where you've got the two characters and one's in a stance here and the other one's in another stance here, and they're not moving, and you hear them both thinking, and they go through that a lot.
That would be unfortunate.
No, I feel like that's what this is going to be, and I'm just preparing myself. I'm tempering. What is that? Which one is that? Is that Ren? Ren?
Zetsu?
I think it's Ren.
Okay.
I think Ren is tempering, because Hatsu is acting.
Hatsu is acting. Ren is actually when you're creating like a strong aura.
Yeah, I think it's tempering.
Okay.
Because that would sound like a smithing type thing. So
no, I think that'd be 10 then, because that's the strengthening something.
No, 10 is Shroud. That's what they said.
Okay. But it was also the defensive one.
Hey, guys, actually, put it in the comments, because we'll probably get to that faster than we will going back and writing down everything.
Right.
Put in for 10, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu, the two words that were associated. The words he gave on the first explanation and the words he gave on the second explanation for each one.
Sure.
In a comment, and we'll put it pinned up at the top here. For our purposes. That way we don't have to have 500 of your comments be about it. But we appreciate it either way.
Yes.
Right. But we'll make sure that the moderators make sure they aren't the one with spoilers and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But, because we're not really going into HunterxHunter comments.
Because there are a lot of spoilers that have been in there.
Yeah. We've heard you guys have been getting better, though.
Yes.
A couple of the moderators in particular have been like, hey, the HunterxHunter fans are getting better. They're not spoiling as much. But I don't know, the moderators are doing a good job of getting things out of there.
Yes, they are.
So now that they're at the 200th floor, there's no money involved.
Right.
That sounds wrong. Like, how do they get glory out of this? Are these being broadcast?
And if the people are there for the money, then what? Like, what do? Would they just start over from 1, go back up to, like, 190, intentionally lose a fight, and then, like, stay around there?
That's actually a good point. Why would you care about winning if you're here for money? Just lose.
Sure.
Go back. You have to fight, though. I think that's the problem, is that if you fight, you could die. So you lose a fight intentionally in the 200th round. You're like, I'm scared, and you jump out of the ring. Right. You start back over at 1. You easily win a whole lot of money. You get up to 200 again. See, that
sounds like playing Dota when you make a new account, so that way you're considered
smurfing.
A new, right?
You're smurfing, yeah. You could smurf with this Heaven's Arena mechanic and make a lot of money. Yeah. Especially if you're someone like Killua or Gon.
Right.
Really, if you're anyone like that. But I'm guessing that type of money isn't enough to make it worthwhile. Maybe it's a lot of time and it's a lot of...
Well, I mean, what? Killua was saying that by the time he got to 200, he had something like
200 million.
200 million.
So that's like, if that's 200 million yen, that's like
$2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's not bad.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in this world the inflation system
is who knows.
Pretty busted.
But if you're able to then just like lose a fight at 200, and I think you go down to the previous one, right? The previous like 10 floors or whatever.
I thought you went down to the first floor again.
Well, I think that's if you don't do the thing when you get to the 200.
If you don't register.
If you don't register when you get to the 200th. But if you're at like 180, you're like, I'm getting pretty close. I'll just throw a fight, go back down to 170. That way you can reap the rewards of 180 again.
Okay, so you really only could do it once before you would be in Killua's position.
Right. And then you just have to make sure you never reach 200 again.
Oh, sure. That also would be pretty intelligent.
And at that point, I think they're making, like they said, they were making like tens of millions or something with each match. So
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, losing, we don't know what the effects are really of losing other than losing rank, but
right.
It'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
I'd say that this episode having a small set of characters is good.
Yes.
I was a little bit worried about that, but I felt swamped with characters during the Hunter's exam.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really glad we don't have the equivalent of freaking Tompa. Yeah. Glad we don't have a Tompa character anymore. These two side characters, Zushi and Wing, are way better.
Way more interesting, and they're actually like, you can see why they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to Tompa, where it's like, why didn't they just like kill this guy and like, throw him in a gutter somewhere? Like,
the motivations for Wing and Zushi are way more compelling, way more interesting.
Yes.
But they're also, like you said, they're a lot more believable contextually as to why he's there. So,
right.
So all in all, good stuff.
And they have those little bits of mystery about them too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I really want to know why Zushi isn't allowed to use his Nen training until he gets up to that level.
I think it's to keep the will conditioning type thing.
Right,
going.
But what is the effect of that will conditioning? What does that actually do?
Maybe it makes his Nen or Ren or whatever stronger?
I think that's the point in which we're going to get into that stuff in the next couple of episodes, is we'll start to be explained what these things, what kind of training techniques do for specific things. It's like working out different types of muscles.
Exactly. I was just going to say that, except this is like working out the mind, and by fighting at a disadvantage, it's the same thing as basically doing weight training, like what they were doing to get past the test door. So he's essentially putting weights on his mind or whatever, because his soul, because the obstacles he's needing to overcome are harder because he's putting himself at a disadvantage. Therefore, the willpower to push through it, it gives him a better workout.
Yeah, and I like that they brought up the willpower, because the definition of the soul, it's a little bit quasi spiritual, but you could simplify it as the mind, the will, and emotions, and whatever the combination of those three things.
Right, willpower is a much easier thing to get a handle on.
Exactly, or if anything, it's the most vague of them, making it the easiest to get a handle on. Because, well, I mean, the mind is the mind. It has a physical component. Emotions have an actual physical component with hormones and all that. But willpower, it's not
sort of like the summation of all of them mashed together.
Right. It's you utilize your mind and your emotions to exercise your will. Sure. But you don't. It's a different type of relationship with your willpower, I would say. So them bringing that into play is cool, because then we could get into more of what are people's desires or what are they willing to do? What is their will pushing them towards? And also another thing with this little bit where they mentioned about bluffing. That was kind of cool. Is what if Gon, the reason why he's so good is that he has an actual large amount of this Nen energy or soul, whatever, and he wins a couple fights just by bluffing his way out of it.
That would be cool.
Like that would be really actually really cool,
because he's already done that. Okay, this is really cool. So the fact that they're making it willpower, he's already demonstrated.
He's already done
like
that with Hanzo. That's right.
That's awesome.
Oh, so he was essentially going through Nen training.
Yeah, he was basically doing a 10, I think.
Yes.
That would be, yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, that's
right. Crazy.
That's awesome.
That's some foreshadowing.
Yep.
And maybe Gon's thing will be that his 10 is insanely strong.
Sure. Yeah.
His ability to just put on the shroud of this Nen aura and just become unstoppable. This indomitable
He
will.
is the Determinator.
Right. It's the shonen protagonist stuff. It's all
cool.
Okay. All right.
Anything
Anything you want to discuss in particular?
I'm excited to how they handle the next episode, because I think the way they've set this up, they're going to have to confront Hisoka again in the next episode.
Right, but they're going to have their new tools to fall back on, and
Exactly.
maybe there will be a literal battle of wills in the hallway.
Yeah. So,
and they'll just kind of stare at each other intently. And that's kind of a fun anime trope thing to do, but now we have an actual mechanic based around that. Other than in other anime where there was just the ambiguous, I now am going to stare at you as hard as I can, and my vibrations will be sent to your direction. It's like, oh, what are these vibrations? Yeah. In this case, there is a very tangible, direct correlation between them doing that kind of silly trope with its effect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that
make us take it more seriously when it happens.
I feel like this show is going to be one where it will reward us for slowing down and really
I could totally see
over
that.
some of the details with this NEN system.
And we will, because we have another year to go or so.
All right, guys, this discussion's been really fun. If you want to check out the next 2 episodes of HunterxHunter, look at the link in the description below for our Patreon and get on early access, because it also gives you Discord and the ability to see other episodes as well as things we'd love to show you. But yeah, we'll see you again later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.